All right, welcome to today's Wow Women Who Own Their Worth interview series. I'm so excited today to have Erin Marie Allen on. She is actually going to talk today about a subject that's very close to my heart. And what I love about Erin is that she is a helper in the world. I'm a big fan of helping women and men all across the world love their body, be in their bodies, take care of their bodies in a way that is what I would say is a higher level of consciousness. And maybe that's too woo-woo for some of you, but I believe that Erin brings a combination of skills and results for her clients. And so I'm going to share a little bit about Erin. And as a reminder, this interview series is all about interviewing women who own their worth and help other women own their worth. So Erin Marie Allen is a family nurse practitioner. I love nurse practitioners actually more than doctors. I always resonate with nurse practitioners way more than doctors. I feel like the nurses know everything and the doctors, like they know more than doctors. That's my feeling, but I could be wrong. But that's how I've always experienced nurse practitioners. So Erin has spent more than 20 years providing compassionate, holistic, patient-based care. She's a fellowship trained in Pediatric Psychopharmacology and holds a graduate degree certifications in sexual health promotion from the University of Indiana at Bloomington and in plant-based medicine from Cornell University. She's a Reiki Master teacher, herbalist, and bioidentical hormone specialist who brings complementary and Western medicine together for her patients, and she is the owner and practitioner at Cura Personalis, I hope I'm saying that right, Integrative Health in Denver and Colorado Springs, Colorado. She holds board certifications in family practice, correctional health, and palliative care, is a member of the Holistic Nurses Association and the Institute for Functional Medicine. She is also a mom to 2 teenage boys and a menagerie of rescued animals. Erin, welcome.
Thanks, Lila. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you. So as a reminder, it is Lila. I'll just tell you now because I know a lot of people,
Lila.
all Americans, and if you're from America, you call me Lila until you hear Lila. It's pretty typical, so it's no worries. But I just in case it comes up again. So I have a question before we get started. These menagerie of animals, like rescuing animals, how many animals do you have?
Too many. No, you can never have too many. They seem to find us. They seem to find my husband and I, my kids and I. But you know, I can't let an animal suffer. So yeah, they're all rescues. Even my husband's service animal is as a rescue. And he does have a trained service dog, which is different than an emotional support dog, but I won't go down that. But service animal, he's also a rescue. But we have 4 dogs. We have 2 hedgehogs, a box turtle that we found on the road that had been hit by a truck, and he's a very happy member of our household now. So a cockatoo that was from a bad abusive unfortunately situation, but ended up with us temporarily, and 3 years later he's still ours. His name's Triton. He's fun. And so I think if you add them all up and you count our chickens and everything, we have about a dozen animals in my house. So.
We have chickens, hedgehogs,
yes,
a bird, a turtle, and a dog.
Yes, and 4 dogs.
And 4 dogs, right?
Yes.
4 dogs.
Yes.
Amazing. So I love this. And I just want everybody listening now to feel Erin, because you can tell, I could tell just by you sharing, you know, how compassionate you really are. You really live in a state of compassion. Is that true?
I think that's where I try to come from. Right. We all do our best. but that's my center. That's where I try to come from, a compassionate place whether I'm working with people or animals or just interacting with the world in general. We have to come from a compassionate place, I think.
That's beautiful. I think it's a good segue into what we're talking about. So today we're talking about owning your maturing body,
Yes.
caring for your most valuable asset.
Mm-hmm.
So, before this interview, I was sitting with this idea, and I wanted to ask you first, before the animal question, how would you define a maturing body?
So, I think in the US, we have kind of a different way of thinking about things, but, medically speaking, we all start maturing the minute we're conceived, right? Right.
Yeah.
The minute we come into the world, we're maturing, right? But and for today's purposes, when we're talking about a maturing body, right? We're talking about, and I'm speaking to women now, right? This is women who own their worth, and speaking to women, right? And about women in our second half of life, okay, right? The women who have almost, physically speaking, not emotionally or spiritually speaking, physically speaking, sort of reached the peak of what medicine considers to be our very healthful years, our reproductive years. All of those things are maybe behind us or getting close to coming behind us. And we still have the second half of our lives to live in a different body, right? We were growing into this body, and now you spend your 20s and 30s having this body, and then you spend your 40s and 50s and on over kind of dealing with this body. Different thing. And so I think for the purposes of this conversation, the maturing body, the mature body, is the body who has, reached its full growth potential and is aging gracefully. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to say that we're, over the hill or going downhill. I hate those terms. I really do, because that is just not the case. I think that most humans, especially when we take care of ourselves, age like fine wine, so to speak. We all get better with age, but things change in your body. Things change, definitely. And coping with that can be really difficult sometimes. So that's kind of what I want to talk about today.
Okay, I love it. I was just looking at some Facebook memories today from my little brother from 12 years ago. It was his 21st birthday. He's quite a lot younger than me, and he's 32 today.
Oh, wow.
And I was looking at myself in the photos and recognizing that the way that I look now, like you said, the age of like a fine wine, the way that I look now is so much better than it did, 12 years ago. So I do agree with this. If you take care of yourself, you can age well. I have some, I can see some women, if you see me looking down at the phone, I'm looking to see who's watching.
Yeah.
And I can see some women, and I've worked with women who, feel better in their 60s than they did in their 40s. And so I do believe that we can actually feel good and have even better years maybe than we did when we were younger.
Absolutely.
So I'm curious, the other part of this is, caring for your most valuable asset. So I'm wondering, what do you see in your line of work is the biggest challenge for women in terms of caring for their body?
Oh, I think it is that sort of that deep-rooted sort of feminine energy and capacity that we all have to sort of nurture everybody around us. And we don't necessarily take care of ourselves first. And I know that you just had someone on last week talking about self-care and how important that was. And if you haven't watched it and you're watching now, go back and watch that one, because that one was great.
That was Laura Cross.
Laura, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Self-care is really the most important thing. But that's it, is that we tend, and not all of us are moms, right? And not all of us are moms, but we're all, sisters, daughters, etc. And you know, it's still sort of ingrained in us, I think, to care for the people around us before we take care of ourselves, whether that's a cultural expectation or, you know, it kind of depends on how you grew up, I think. As sometimes it's a religious expectation, sometimes a cultural expectation, sometimes it's just a societal expectation, but right, we're supposed to take care of everybody around us first, right? And women in particular, I think, just tend to put themselves last, right? I will, you know, get my kids new shoes, right, before I bother getting me new shoes, right? Or I will, you know, make sure that my mother or my father, right, my aging mother or father, because we're in between now. We've got aging parents and kids. We're still taking care of a lot of us, right? Or aging family members, aunts, uncles, etc. But you know, we'll take care of everyone around us before we'll take care of ourselves, before we'll take time to even, some of us go to the doctor, right? To even get the checkup, get your mammogram, get your blood work done, fill your prescriptions, right? It's all, everybody else's are going to get done before yours. And sometimes that happens so much that your stuff never gets done. Yeah. And then you end up in a space where getting yourself back to a healthy place feels very overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of women get stuck, is in that overwhelming space, right? Well, now it's just too far gone, and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to start with. I don't know where to go. Right?
Girl, I hear you. I get it, you know, and I have a tendency to give my community, my clients, right? I've been over and over and over. The lesson is, Lila, nourish yourself before you nourish others. And I'm really, you know, relative to a lot of women, pretty good at it, but there's always more room, you know, to nourish myself first. And so I've been, over the years, over the last really decade, shifting more and more and more. And even in the like this year, even, I've really changed my schedule up so that I can, you know, do a lot more self-care in the first part of the day that I ever have before. And I've done a lot, but I'm doing more. You know, I'm, you know, I love what you said. So, you know, you being in the world of medical and alternative medicine, kind of like allopathic and what I would say alternative, you can call it whatever you want.
Complementary. I like the term complementary.
Complementary, you're right. Yeah. I call it alternative. You know, whatever you want to call the words, a complementary is beautiful, because what I love about it, it's you can combine both. Yes. That's what I love about what you do, and why I brought you on, is because I believe that there is value in all the different kinds of approaches, and you have a really unique set of skills to bring together, you know, for women who have different struggles in their health and their wellness. And so it's not so ideally overwhelming. Right. It's interesting what just came up for me as you were talking, and I looked at the clock and it was 1:11 here. So I was like, I'm going to have to ask.
Yeah.
You know, we hear a lot about, you know, that women take care of others and they need to take care of themselves. So self-care. But what I was feeling right when you were talking was that there's this other piece, that allowing others to take care of them as well.
Right.
Right. And that's something you do. You pour into women, you help them, right? So women have to, you know, they help others, they help themselves, but then they also have to be willing to get help from others, right?
Right. And I think a lot of us are really bad at that.
Totally. Yeah, I get it. So will you share, you know, over the years, like, you know, what is it that, how do you pour into women? How do you help them, you know, care for, you know, not even just care for themselves, but how do you, you know, care for their bodies, especially, you know, as women are maturing? Right. What is it that you can provide for them?
So, you know, I think as a healthcare provider, right, we're going to go back to the basic things that all healthcare providers do, and all of the screenings, right, and the mammograms and the pap smears and the checkups and the blood work, and right, all of those things. But it can't stop there. And that I think is the problem, is that a lot of traditional medicine just stops there. It says, well, all of the numbers look fine, so you must be fine. And they've completely ignored the mind, first off, and the spirit of this person, right? We've looked at the body and we've completely ignored the mind and the spirit, but the mind and the spirit drive the body, and it's circular and it's all connected, and you can't just look at one of these things. And so I've always been, whether it was, at the hospital bedside or when I was working in palliative care, it's always been a matter of, what is driving this physical problem that is not necessarily just medical, right? Is it an anxiety, right? And if it's an anxiety, where is that anxiety coming from? Is it some kind of a spiritual disconnect? Sometimes I found, especially, now this is going back, many moons, but, I started off at the hospital bedside, right? So sometimes the best thing I could do for someone was just sit with them and take it and share their space. And to let them know that they were not alone. Now, unfortunately, in hospital bedside care and short staff nursing, there's not a lot of time to do that, to just sit with people and do that. There's not a lot of time, there's not a lot of space. And so sometimes the best thing I could do in those situations is to call the chaplain. And that's what hospital chaplains are for. Not to be religious, but to be able to sit there and have space with someone and to pray for them if that's what they want, to meditate with them if that's what they want, just to help them talk to their families if that's what they want. But that is so much a part of their healing, just as much as administering the medication or doing the testing, right? And so, I think what I try and do most for everyone, but for women in particular, is to remind them that they're a whole person. This is not just about your body, right? This is not just about your emotions. This is not just about whatever spiritual component you have in your life, but they have to all come together for you to be a whole rounded, healthy person.
It's beautiful. And
giving them that space to do that, and bringing, maybe they have a really great, emotional state and spiritual connection, and their mental health is wonderful, but their body feels like it's falling apart. So we bring those up to meet each other. But usually when your body's falling apart, it's not just your body. There's something else going on. So I think pulling all of those things together and helping women realize that they are not one thing. When you have a diagnosis, whether if it's diabetes or arthritis or hypothyroidism or whatever it is, that might be something that's affecting your body, but that's not you, right? A lot of people say, well, I am a diabetic. I really hate that term. You're a person who happens to have diabetes, right?
That's beautiful.
So, you reminding people that they're not their diagnoses. Yeah. And that we need to pull all aspects of yourself together to make you healthy and whole.
I heard someone recently say, your diagnosis is not a death sentence.
No, right.
And it really struck me, because I know that that's a fear when somebody gets a diagnosis of anything that could lead to death. Although I do think death is the greatest illusion, but that's another conversation for another day.
It's a whole other conversation. Yes.
How to plug that in.
Right.
I'm curious. So, as you've worked in different areas of health care for women across time, have you seen anything change over time in the last couple decades?
Yeah, I think a lot has changed. And sometimes not for the better. Okay. I think Western medicine has gone, in some aspects, more and more technology driven. And that is a wonderful thing in some aspects, because we need that technology for diagnoses, et cetera, for treatments. But we tend to, again, compartmentalize people when we do that. And, we cut off the other aspects of their being and just say, oh, well, we're going to irradiate this cancer, right? Whatever it is. But we've never talked to them about how they felt about that diagnosis, or the day-to-day living with that diagnosis, how that's affecting them at home now, how that's affecting their family around them, right? We can help them to actually live with this. Again, it's not a death sentence, it's a diagnosis, right? And even if it's terminal, which obviously I worked a lot with, palliative care is symptom management for people with a life-limiting condition, we like to say, but in layman's terms, it's for a terminal diagnosis. Okay, so even if the diagnosis is a terminal diagnosis, by the way, life is a terminal diagnosis. It ends for all of us, right? It all ends. And we only get one body, as far as I know, this trip around. We only get, if it depends on how you feel about that, but on this earth, during this lifetime, you only get one. You're issued one. Okay. But it's not just about keeping that body healthy. It's about keeping your whole self healthy. And any diagnosis is not a death sentence. It is now a thing that you have to live with, not a thing that you're dying from.
Yeah.
We have to shift that perspective. It's not, even if it's, say, the big C word, everybody hates the big C word, even if it's cancer, you're not dying of cancer. You are living with cancer.
Yeah.
Yes? Because if you start thinking of every diagnosis that you get as something you're dying of, then you're going to live your life as if you're already dead. And that's not living your life. And that can really make you feel like a very empty, sort of worthless husk of a human, when all of you're thinking about it is your diagnoses and how you are going to keep them from killing you. That's not a way to live. That's
great. It's so good. I had a doctor's appointment a couple years ago, which I don't go to doctors very often, like you probably picked that up.
That's okay.
My trust factor isn't that high.
Most of my patients don't.
Yeah, I knew you'd understand. So I went and come to find out I had experienced bloating, and I had never really experienced bloating in my life, which is kind of funny because I know a lot of people have, and I'm like, what is going on? And I just got a little bit off. I thought something was wrong with me. Nothing was wrong with me. Just experienced bloating, and it was a little constipated. Nothing.
Happens to all of us, right? Yeah.
But it was, I literally was like, I didn't know what was wrong. And so I went to the doctor, and what I noticed is it was the technology piece. They were like on the kind of like a little iPad thing, not a single moment of eye contact the entire time. And that was the first time I had been to a doctor in years. And so I understand that technology piece get in the way. And I know I have an aunt who went back into the medical world after years of raising her children at home. And she was like so overwhelmed by all the technology and the lack, and that she couldn't spend more time with the patients. It really got, really struck her heart. And so I'm curious, for a woman who's in a maturing body, like what advice could you give these women to care for their body more? And I would say, speaking to the person who's fine with going to doctor, and that's beautiful, and also to the woman who might not be as comfortable going to the doctor like me. Right. Like what pieces of advice would you give us as we mature?
So, I kind of think of it as maintenance. So, most of us have had vehicles of some kind. We've all had a car, right? Hopefully by the time you're 40, you've had, maybe not, but you've all had a car, you're familiar with your vehicles. You have to maintain them, right? You have to feed them. You have to clean them. right? You have to gas them up. You have to give them oil. You have to clean them. You have to take them in and get the brakes work done. Yes, because what happens if you don't? They fall apart. And your body is the same way. You have to fuel it. You have to feed it, right? You have to keep it properly maintained. You have to go for those checkups and diagnosis, right? You have to get the oil changed every once in a while, right? So I think that's a really good place to start, is with the prevention, which it can mean going to the doctor, right? And I know that, you know, everybody has their different preferences there. Of course, my preference is that you get your yearly checkup and you get your blood work checked, and then we can look at your vital signs and do all the preventative screenings that we need to. But it doesn't necessarily have to. But I think that the main thing, especially in an aging body, is to first off realize what you have, right? You are, and I'm talking about myself now because I'm in my late 40s too. Okay, so you're not the brand new show model hot rod. You're not. You are the classic car. You're not an old car. You're a classic car. You're a vintage car, right? Yes, right? You're the 57 Chevy, right? You're the 69 Mustang. You are the classic car that demands more. It demands more. It demands more attention. It demands more, sometimes maintenance. It demands more in terms of its worth. They are worth more, right?
Do you hear that, ladies? I'm just going to point out real quick.
You're worth more.
You're worth more, baby.
Right. You are. You're worth more. But it also takes more work to maintain. Right? When you were 20, Lila, you could probably, 21, right? You could probably go out and drink a bit, right? And be out till 2 a.m. and, you know, get up at 6 a.m. and be at class at 7 and be fine, right?
Oh yeah. There's no way.
You could do that.
There's no way now. I can't even.
Now,
nothing.
can you?
Nothing.
No, you can't
have
do
any.
that.
No, none of it.
Your
No,
body doesn't do that. Does it mean that it's not a good body, that it's not a great body, and that it's doing what it needs to do for you? No, not necessarily. It is a different body, and you need to treat it with the respect that it deserves, which means that you need to go to bed at a decent hour if that's what makes you feel better, right? Yeah. You need to, sometimes, some of us get up at 4:30 in the morning and watch that sunrise if that's what makes you feel better, right? If that's what fills your cup. You need to take your time to relax. You need to stretch and move and fuel your body with good, whole food and not with junk, right? I mean, most of us would not ever pour, you know, canola oil into our motor oil section. No, that's not where that goes. It's not good for you. Why do we pour junk into our bodies? We do the same thing.
Yeah, I'm drinking like a bunch of carrot juice lately. In my 20s, I was like, wow, having a good old time, going out,
absolutely,
having some cocktails. Now I'm like, carrot juice, please.
Right.
Maybe some beet juice.
Right. Your body needs it.
Your body loves it.
And that's not a bad thing. People treat it like it's a bad thing. Oh, I can't, you know, go out and party anymore. My body doesn't like, you know, I'm going to be hungover tomorrow. I'm going to be okay. So you know this, you know you're worth more than that. Don't do it.
No, you're worth more than that. You're
worth more than that. Don't do it. Okay, so stop with the I can't and focus on what you can do.
I love that.
Maybe, no, you can't go out and party all weekend and still be functional on Monday morning, right? But you can be functional on Monday morning and you can run that place like the boss that you are. And you can still feel great. And that has nothing to do with what your body can't do anymore.
It's so good.
You have to think about what you can do and do it well. And you can run circles around those little 21-year-old girls now in a different way.
In a different way. Classic car. I like it. I love that. I love that analogy. I actually am a big car fan. Love wheels. Love nice, fun cars, love fast cars. So we have some pretty fun cars in my household. It's a pretty good time. So I'm curious, so do you work with people? So you work with people in person, I do know that, and you work with people virtually as well, right?
Yes, we can do telehealth. So there are things that are limiting for healthcare providers when you hold a certain license, right? That we have certain regulations. There's only so many things that can be done via telehealth, right? But we do work virtually as well. I'm not the only person in my practice. I am the main provider in my practice, but I also have an RN health and wellness coach who sees people almost completely virtually. And she can do that because health and wellness coaches can do that. There aren't the same restrictions around healthcare providers of that sort. And I also have two licensed counselors in my practice, in body, mind, and spirit, right? And they see people virtually as well. So we're not just coming in because you need your pap smear or you have a sinus infection, right? We're working on lots of different aspects of health here.
Cool.
Yeah.
So before we go, I would love to ask you, what's one thing you would tell all women who are in a maturing body right now?
I think that you need to realize what you have and that it's the classic car, baby, right? It's you don't have an aging body. You have a maturing body, right? You may be a little vintage. That's okay, right? The vintage models are stronger, faster, etc., right? Sometimes prettier than the younger ones, but they take more upkeep. And so you've got to remind yourself, hey, I know women who forget to eat during the day, right? I know women who, just straight up forget to eat because we're so busy worrying about other people's things, or worrying about our clients, or worrying about our patients, or worrying about our kids, that we forget to feed ourselves. We forget to put gas in the tank, right? You have to put gas in your tank. You have to fill your cup. There's 1,000 analogies, but you must do it, okay? You can't run on empty all the time.
Yes.
And your mature body needs special care. And so, you are worth it to put yourself first, take the time, get the screenings done, do the maintenance, okay? Do the little things to take care of yourself every day, because the little things aren't really the little things. Fueling your body well and getting the rest you need and filling your spiritual cup and, taking care of the emotional relationships around you. Those are the big things.
Yeah.
That's life. Don't ignore it.
How can people, if they want to, get in touch with you and get your support, how can they reach you?
Yeah. So my practice is Cura Personalis Integrative Health, because we integrate, right? Complementary medicine and Western medicine. Cura Personalis actually means care for the whole person in Latin. That's why we need to practice that. But we shortened it up for the web purposes. Is CPI, Cura Personalis Integrative. So cpihealth.care is the website.
Okay.
And you can book an appointment. You can email us. The phone number's there for you. We're also on Instagram at CPI Health, on Twitter at CPI Health, Facebook at CPI Health. So.
Oh, cool. Well, I will put your website, and then we'll go ahead and include all the social media links as well in the comments. And that way everybody can follow you. And
our Facebook group also has a group. Our Facebook page has a group attached to it that's Let's Talk Personal Health. So where people can ask questions and reach out directly to other members of the community, and we talk about lots of things, healthcare and mental health related. So very open group, so that you're welcome to join as well.
Cool. I didn't know you had a group. We'll make sure to include that too.
Yeah.
Erin, thank you so much. This has been a very fruitful discussion. And I'm really grateful to have you on today. And I'm really grateful that you're helping so many women, own that classic car situation.
Thanks, Lila. It's
Appreciate
been a
you.
pleasure.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Make sure to like and comment and share this or you can't really share from the group, but I'll be putting it in my personal page soon. And make sure to follow Erin. And as a reminder, this is your year. Step up and own your worth. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.